Hey guys, Shido here, and the summer 2014 anime season has ended and the fall 2014 season has begun. So I thought I would look back at my top 5 favorite shows of the summer 2014 anime season. There's a lot to cover, so let's get to it. I'm going to start my list off by quickly mentioning a bunch of shows that did not make the top 5. Starting with both Zenkro no Terror and Tokyo Ghoul. These two didn't make the list simply because I did not have enough time to watch them. I've heard many things about both shows, mostly good, and I hope to watch them sometime in the near future. Two other big shows missing from my list are actually two shows that were on my first impressions video back at the beginning of the season. Sailor Moon Crystal fell off my list simply because it's a fine show, but I've never been a big Sailor Moon fan, and that's simply the only reason. There's nothing wrong with it, it's just not for me. Now the other big show that fell off my list is Sword Art Online 2. This show was a bit iffy for me, as it started off kinda slow and didn't really pick up until episode 5, and it's gotten pretty good. It's definitely better than the second half of the first season, but it fell off my list because there were just that many other shows that were better than it. Another show that didn't make the list from the shows that I watched this season was Tokyo ESP. It's a crazy show about espers that made me feel like I was watching a X-Men anime of some sorts. It's nothing special, however. It's not bad, but it's really not that great either. Rail Wars, a show about trains and tits and trains, with more tits running around in trains, was my what the hell am I doing watching this show of the season. And it's pretty much how it sounds. It's male character, bunch of girls like him, and it involves trains. Yay! And finally, the other show that I watched this season that didn't make the list was Gaslit, a slice of life show that literally had nothing happen. The characters don't know what's going on, we don't know what's going on, nobody knows what's going on. All we know is that nothing is going on. Well, that's it for the shows that I saw this season that didn't make the list, minus Zenkro no Terror and Tokyo Ghoul, of course. And now, on to the list. At number 5 on my list is Aoharu Ride, or Blue Spring Ride. Based off the shoujo manga, written and illustrated by Io Sakisaka, the anime is written by Tomoko Kamparu, directed by Ai Yoshimura, and animated by Production IG, and it has been licensed by Sentai Filmworks. The show follows Futaba Yoshioka, a girl who changed her image when she entered high school, because in middle school, she was hated by the other girls, simply for being cute, and because of misunderstanding, she couldn't get with the boy that she liked. In high school, she tries to be as unladylike and unpopular as possible. She then meets the boy she liked once again, only he's changed and become much colder. This show almost didn't make the list, because for the first 3 or 4 episodes I'd say, was very slow moving, with not a lot of progression, but it quickly picked up and has become a very good romance story. The characters are interesting and have pretty good development. It's a shame that the series is only 12 episodes, and that's also what hurt it, because the first several episodes moving so slowly felt kind of wasted when you've got only a 12 episode series to tell your story. The animation is very well done, as is the voice acting and music. It's one of the many surprise hits of this season for me, so if you like romance, you should definitely check this one out. Number 4 on my list is Aldnoah Zero, a mecha anime series created by Olympus Knights and A1 Pictures. It is directed by A. Aoki and is licensed by Aniplex in America. In the year 1972, the Apollo 17 mission discovered a hypergate, or warp gate if you will, to Mars, on the moon. Eventually, a war breaks out between Earth and Mars. This leads to Earth shattering the moon. Eventually, a ceasefire was had, but 15 years later, the Martians attack Earth, and the war starts once more. This series seriously surprised the hell out of me. For one, I've never been a big fan of mech shows. I do have a few I like, such as Gundam Wing. The mech designs are pretty well done, and are all unique, and they really stand out. The characters are pretty well done, with each their own personalities. The characters, and of course the voice actors who portray them, did a great job in making you either really love the character, or hate the character. And a lot of that has to do with how well written the story was. The music in Aldnoah Zero is amazing, simply amazing, and it's definitely one of the best anime soundtracks of not only a year, but probably in the last several years. This series was full of emotion that left you full of adrenaline at times. My only complaint I had was the last episode's conclusion, but at the same time, it leaves you wanting more and looking forward to the next season, which will air in January of 2015. It's definitely a must-watch for mech fans. The number 3 on my list is a bit of a surprise, not because it's on the list, but because it fell to number 3. The series I'm talking about is Akame ga Kill. Like in my first impressions video a few months ago, I love this series. I loved it so much that I went out and I read all the manga I could find, and this show is a direct adaptation of the manga. It's based off the shonen manga written by Takahiro and illustrated by Tetsuya Tashiro. The anime was directed by Tomoki Kobayashi and animated by Studio White Fox, and it has been licensed by Sentai Filmworks. This series is basically about a young man named Tatsumi who joins an assassin group called Night Raid as they strike out to end corruption in the capital. I'm biased, and I'll admit it. The animation is pretty good, but not amazing. The voice acting and music are well done and fit the show and characters perfect. It's not a terribly complex show, and it's bloody and violent as you can expect from a show about assassins. But I love it. The characters are fun and interesting, and while I know the series will end before a total conclusion because of how much manga there is, it's just a fun show that gives me a weekly dose of intense action and fun characters. Action lovers will love this show, and I highly recommend it to anyone who loves a good action show. Now, if you want to talk about surprises, well, here they are. Both my number 1 and number 2 are huge surprises that came out of nowhere for me, but they filled me with so much joy as I watched them. Number 2 is Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-kun, or Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun, which is based off the ongoing 4-panel Japanese web romantic comedy manga that is written and illustrated by Izumi Tsubaki. The anime is directed by Mitsue Yamazaki and written by Yoshiko Nakamura, and animated by Doga Kobo Studio, and licensed by Sentai Filmworks. High school student Chiyo Sakura has a crush on fellow student Umitaro Nozaki. She tries to confess her love to him, only for him to mistake her as a fan of his. You see, Nozaki is a popular shoujo manga artist. She ends up working for him as an assistant so she can get closer to him. This show is hilarious. One of the true funniest comedies I've seen in a very long time. It helps if you know a lot about shoujo manga, but even most people can understand and enjoy the jokes regardless. It's genuinely funny and entertaining, and is a great way to make a bad day or a bad mood turn around in an instant. The characters are all great, not a single unentertaining character in there. It's just an overall great show. The characters are great, the voice acting is well done. It's honestly just a breath of fresh air to have a comedy show be genuinely funny and not have to rely on sex jokes or other perverted things to get you to laugh. I love this show and would recommend it to anyone who likes comedy and just wants a good laugh. And speaking of comedy, my number 1 show of the season for me is a comedy slice-of-life show that is genuinely funny and heartwarming. I'm talking about Barakamon, based off the manga, written and illustrated by Satsuki Yoshino. The anime is directed by Masaki Tachibana and animated by Kinema Citrus, and has been licensed by Funimation Entertainment. Professional calligrapher Seishu Honda is sent away to an island after he is angered and thus hits an elderly curator for criticizing his work. On the island, he meets all kinds of fun and colorful villagers. This show is awesome. This might be the biggest surprise ever for me. The series is fun and heartwarming. Seeing Honda meet all these crazy people and learning valuable lessons about life is what truly makes this show worth watching. It's all about the character interactions, especially 7-year-old Naru, whose fun and energy just picks you up and just carries you throughout this entire show. If someone told me a year ago I'd love a show where the main character was a calligrapher, I'd probably have laughed at them. But sure enough, this show is about as genuine as you can get. The comedy is great and is actually funny, and the scenes where the main character is actually enlightened and begins to learn valuable lessons about not only himself but about life in general just leave you smiling and satisfied. The animation is well done, but nothing new. And the voice acting is simply amazing. The characters sound as genuine as possible, and the music is great, especially the opening and ending songs. I never miss them. Usually when I watch an anime, after I've seen the opening once or twice, I'll skip right to the show, but not Barakamon. I highly recommend Barakamon to anyone who just wants to have a great time and smile. Well, that's it for my top 5 2014 anime summer list. I hope you've enjoyed it, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you during the 2014 fall season. See you later!